Howdy my peeps and welcome. Today I'm going to be sharing a very basic Procreate tutorial slash introduction. This was suggested by Madison Solora. Thank you so much for your suggestion. I really appreciate it. I would like to preference that I'm going into this tutorial with the assumption that you are already familiar with digital art. If you are not, forgive me. I'm sorry. But anyways, let's just go ahead and get right into this. So I already have Procreate opened up. This is the gallery. This is where you're going to see all of your artwork. You can organize your gallery by creating what they call stacks, which is basically a folder. And how you do that is you're going to hold down on one of your drawings and hover it over another and let go, and it's going to create a little folder. And if you want to take something out of the folder, you're going to hold down, hover over stack or the name, and it's going to take it out of the folder. You can reorder your gallery by holding down and just kind of dropping it where you want it. And to rename different pictures or folders in your gallery, you're going to tap the text and you're going to write what you want. So I'm going to write tutorial. Ta-da! Up here you have a couple of options, a few options rather. There's select, which is where you select things. This is how you delete things. You're going to click select and then delete, but be very careful because if you delete, it's permanent. But a little menu will pop up and ask you, are you sure? And it will tell you this is permanent. And you can also duplicate or share or preview your images by clicking select. You can also import things, and there's a photo option, and right here, the plus here is where you can make a new canvas. I typically use screen size for just my regular everyday drawings and for my digital sketchbook, which I'll explain how to do a digital sketchbook. And you can also make your own presets here by clicking this other little plus sign here, and you can make your own. I already have a little thing open here, my little tutorial, my little example. So at the top you have some options, and you also have your little thing here. I'll go through everything. First you have gallery, which is going to take you back to your gallery. Then you have this little wrench icon here, which if you open that, it's going to have a bunch of options. There's add, canvas, share, video, preferences, and help. Under the add menu, you're going to see where you can insert a file, insert photo, take photo, add text, and also where you can cut, copy, and paste. Under canvas is where you can resize your canvas. You can also create animations here through animation assist. There's also page assist, which I accidentally clicked. Page assist is how I create my digital sketchbook. Basically what you do, click here, go to page assist, and it will have a little menu that pops up here with each individual page. Since I have like a full drawing that I would want to be a page, because otherwise it's just going to make each layer a page, I'm going to group everything by swiping everything to the right like this, and you're going to click group. And now that whole group is a page in my digital sketchbook. And when I create new pages, you can create new pages here, you can create new pages here under layers. There's also a drawing guide, which looks like a grid, but you can also edit it. There's isometric perspective. You click perspective and you're going to click here and you can make your little horizon points. There's also symmetry. I just typically use 2D grid. And you can also change the color of the grid up here. And you can also change the opacity of the lines and the size of the grid and also the thickness of the lines. So that's super convenient. So that's drawing guide. You can also use references. I don't ever use that, I'm going to be honest. You can also flip your canvas horizontally or vertically, and there's also canvas information where you can say what this was named by. You can sign it. There's dimensions, layers, color profile, video settings, etc. Under share, this is where you're going to export your drawings. I typically export everything as a PNG or JPEG, and for my digital sketchbook I go right under here under share layers. Oops. And I share everything as PNG files, and what it does is it's going to share each individual layer instead of sharing one thing at a time. But for the digital sketchbook, since I have everything grouped, it's going to share the entire group. Under video, this is where you can see your time lapse, like so. You can drag your finger to go to whatever point in the time lapse you want to see. You can also turn off this feature if you don't want it to record the time lapse, or you can export it here. You can do full length or 30 seconds. I typically do full length for my videos. Next to the actions menu is adjustments. It looks like a little magic wand with some sparkles. And this is where you can adjust your colors, your curves. There's some blur options, different effects, liquify. Next to that is a selection tool. I typically use the freehand option down here, where you can just draw what you want to select. And the thing I like about this one is you can draw, lift up, and then keep drawing. It's not gonna just be like, oh, you must be done selecting. It won't be done till you say it's done. And if you would like to move something around, you're gonna click this arrow right next to the selection tool to resize or move stuff. And it has different resizing options down here. Typically I use uniform or distort. Alright, next we have the brush menu. You're going to tap that and your brush library is going to come up. I use the default brushes. I have not downloaded any special brush packs or anything, and I have only edited my brushes very minimally. I think the only one I've made is this untitled brush. It's like a stroke brush, and I saw a tutorial on TikTok on how to do it. If you'd like to pin a brush so you don't have to continuously go in the different folders to find it, you're going to swipe to the left, and there's a find option where it'll take you to where that brush is in the brush library. And there's also a place where you can unpin it or clear. Next you have the smudge tool, and just like with the brush library, you also have a brush library for the smudge tool, so you can use different brushes for the smudge tool. And you have the same thing for the eraser as well, which is super convenient. Next to that you have the layers menu. I already have this little group here with the little drawing I made, and there's also a background color. It's just a flat color thing, and when you click it, it's just going to open up your color palette menu or your color selection tool, which I'll talk about in a sec. When you want to create new layers, you're just going to click this little plus sign and it's going to make new layers. If you would like to group layers, you're going to swipe to the right like so, and it gives you the option to either delete or group. I'm going to group. If you would like to change the layer modes, you can click this. It's going to be an N by default. You're going to click the N, and a bunch of different layer modes are going to pop up. I typically use multiply for shading or shadows, and add for highlights, and I like to use overlay as well. There's a opacity tool here as well, which is really neat. And if you just press the layer, a menu is going to come up where you can clear the layer, you can do alpha lock, mask, you can invert, you can reference, you can clear, fill layer, copy, so on and so forth. You also create a clipping mask if you like so. To delete a layer or to delete a group, all you're going to do is swipe to the left, and a little option is going to pop up where you can lock, duplicate, or delete a layer. Next you have your color selection tool. There are different options. I typically use classic, but there's a disc one, classic like I just mentioned. There's harmony, which you can use this to create different color palettes, which is super neat, and you can adjust the tone there or the values there and move it around. This is split complementary, and you can click this little name here and a bunch of different ones will come up, and you can make your own little color palettes like this. There's also a value selection tool, and this is where you can find your palettes. You can make your own. You can click this little plus sign to create your own palette, or you can import it from a file or from photos, which is super convenient. Like I said, I typically use classic, and then under the classic, one of my palettes that I use the most often, which is my shading, highlights, and etc. color palette, is just right under there. And then you also have your history. I forgot to mention this while I was filming, but you can select a color directly from your canvas by holding down over an area, and you can also move it around without lifting up your finger until you get the color that you would like. If you like to fill in an area, I'm going to select a layer, you can hold this little circle up here where the color is and drop it, which is super easy to fill in areas. So cool. To undo something, 2 fingers, and you tap like that. And to redo it, you're going to take 3 fingers and redo it like that. Or if you don't want to do that, though that's super, just easy, there's also little redo, undo right over here. Speaking of this menu, there's an option also to adjust the size of your brush or the opacity, and if you have a specific size or opacity that you use super often, you can even save it by just tapping it and clicking this plus sign here. Those are the very basic tools for Procreate. I find that it's a pretty easy program to use, especially if you are familiar with digital programs already. It wasn't too difficult for me to transition from SAI to Procreate, so that's pretty nice. If you're thinking about getting an iPad or getting Procreate, I highly recommend it. I've been using it for 2 years now, and it's my primary program that I use for drawing digitally now. It has completely replaced my laptop, my Wacom Intuos, and SAI for me. So do with that information what you will. Anyways, I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed this little basic introduction. Shout out to my patrons, Merriment Illustrations, Sister Donna 55, Kelsey, and a Spooky Rose. Thanks so much for being my patrons. I really appreciate you and everything that you do. Wow, oh my goodness, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. And here are a couple other videos that I think you would like to watch, and I'll see you next time.